Forward. You weren't supposed to read this book. Not because it contains state secrets or classified information, but because the system that has operated for millennia depends on you never connecting the dots, never seeing the patterns, never asking why the same inversions appear across every institution, every religion, every era of history. This book will be called Conspiracy Theory. That term was created by the CIA in 1967 specifically to discredit people who ask questions. You'll find the declassified document referenced in Chapter 10 and sourced in the appendix. That's not opinion. That's documented history. What follows is not doctrine. It is not the final word on anything. It is a collection of patterns, questions, and connections that the reader is encouraged to verify independently. Where claims can be documented, sources are provided. Where claims are speculative, they are labeled as such. The goal is not to create followers, but to awaken seekers. Not to replace one set of authorities with another, but to encourage direct relationship with the Creator and direct engagement with truth. Some of this will resonate immediately. Some will seem absurd at first and make sense later. Some may never land. That's fine. Take what serves your awakening. Question everything else, including this. The signal has been broadcasting since the beginning. The receiver can be restored. The veil can be lifted. What happens next is between you and the Most High. A note on the name. Scripture references from the Eth Sefer, which restores the Hebrew names. You will notice that this book uses unfamiliar names for familiar figures, names you were never taught, names that were systematically removed, replaced, and buried under layers of translation, tradition, and institutional control. This is not an accident, and it is not a stylistic choice. There is a reason the original names were erased. There is a reason you were given substitutes, and there is a reason the substitutes sound nothing like the originals. A name is not just a label. A name carries frequency, identity, authority, connection. What happens when a name is changed? What is gained, and what is lost? What if the replacement doesn't just fail to connect you to the source, but actively connects you to something else? These are not rhetorical questions. The evidence is specific, mathematical, and traceable through scripture, history, and linguistics. It will be presented in full as this investigation unfolds. For now, understand this. When you encounter an unfamiliar name in these pages, when you see a word that looks strange where a comfortable, familiar word used to sit, that discomfort is the point. That friction is the feeling of encountering something that was hidden from you. Sit with it. The pieces will connect. The scriptures themselves warned that this substitution would happen. They told us exactly how to identify it, and they told us what it would cost. All of that is ahead. Author's note. For years, regret and self-loathing were constant companions. Alcohol became a way to cope, a way to numb something that couldn't be named. It nearly won. But the Father, through the Son, intervened. Sobriety brought clarity, clarity brought revelation, and revelation demanded to be shared. What you hold in your hands or on your screen is the product of that clarity. Years of research, countless hours down rabbit holes that led somewhere and some that led nowhere. The painful process of unlearning what was taught and relearning what was hidden. This book is based on research, world events, historical precedent, and patterns that keep appearing across cultures, centuries, and continents. Think of truth as a massive puzzle. Fragments from 100 different puzzles scattered across time and geography. You can shake that box hoping it assembles itself, or you can start connecting pieces that fit, building a tapestry that reveals a picture. That's what this book offers, a connect-the-dots model. I am not making definitive claims. I present what I've found, not as doctrine, but as a starting point for your own journey. The goal isn't to convince you of anything. The goal is to show you how I connected the dots, and invite you to verify, challenge, or expand on what I've found. This book is written in the voice of a documentary narrator, authoritative but conversational. It's designed to be read or listened to aloud. If you're hearing this as an audiobook, know that every word was chosen with your ears in mind. People are conditioned not to pay attention, not to care, not to question. That conditioning serves the system, not the Creator. I believe the Father is separating his flock, those with ears to hear and eyes to see, from those who choose to remain asleep. This book is for those who are waking up. Take what resonates. Question what doesn't. Verify everything you can. And above all, seek the Creator directly. No book, no teacher, no institution can replace that relationship. The journey through the veil begins now.
Chapter 1. The Council and the Fall. To understand where we are, I have to take you back to where it started. Not human history. Before that, the celestial rebellion that set everything in motion. Scripture speaks of principalities and powers, of rulers of darkness, of spiritual wickedness in high places. Shaul, Paul, wrote in Ephesians 6:12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." These aren't metaphors. They're descriptions of an organized hierarchy that predates humanity itself. At the top of this hierarchy sits the adversary, Satan, the dragon, the serpent of old. Chizayon, Revelation 12:9 identifies him. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceives the whole world. But he doesn't rule alone. He has a council, the fallen ones who joined his rebellion, the entities who have operated through human proxies throughout recorded history. The adversary's strategy has always been imitation. Create a counterfeit of everything the Creator established, a false trinity, a false salvation, a false kingdom. Korintium Sheni, 2 Corinthians 11:14 warns, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light." The council of the fallen mirrors the divine council of heaven. Tehillim, Psalm 82:1 reveals, "Elohim stands in the congregation of the mighty, he judges among the Elohim." Everything is inverted, everything is substituted, and most people can't tell the difference because they've never been shown the original. Understanding Elohim, the word they hope you never examine. This is where many people get confused, and where the adversary plants doubt. Who is God talking to in Genesis when he says, "Let us make man in our image"? The answer requires understanding what Elohim actually means. Elohim, is a Hebrew word that is grammatically plural. It doesn't mean God in the exclusive sense we've been taught. It means mighty ones, or inhabitants of the spiritual realm. Context determines whether it refers to the Creator specifically or to other spiritual beings. The Hebrew uses Elohim in multiple ways. Yahuah, the Creator, the Most High, singular, species unique. Members of his council, divine beings, messengers, what we call angels. Gods of nations, spiritual entities behind false worship. Demons, Devarim Deuteronomy 32:17. Deceptive spirits impersonating the dead, 1 Shemuel 1 Samuel 28:13, the Witch of Endor. Note on that last category, Scripture is clear that the dead know nothing, Koheleth Ecclesiastes 9:5, and the dead praise not Yahuah, Tehillim Psalm 115:17. The dead sleep until resurrection. So what did the Witch of Endor summon? She called it Elohim ascending out of the earth, but that doesn't mean it was actually Samuel. More likely, it was a deceptive spirit impersonating him. This is precisely the deception at work today. Mediums, channelers, and necromancers contact something, but it's not who they think it is. The fact that the Hebrew calls it Elohim proves the word applies to any spiritual entity, not just the Creator. When the Scripture says, "Put no other Elohim before me," it acknowledges that other spiritual beings exist. They do. The council exists. But Yahuah is supreme. He is species unique. He alone is the Creator. The scriptural evidence is extensive, and it's not hiding. In Genesis, at creation, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." Who is the us? Who is the our? The council. Later in Genesis, after the fall, "Behold, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil." Again, one of us. The council. Babel. "Come, let us go down and confuse their language." the council. In Isaiah's vision, with seraphim surrounding the throne, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? The council. Job describes the beginning. When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy. The Bene Elohim, the sons of Elohim, were present at creation itself. And in Deuteronomy, when the Most High divided the nations, he set the boundaries according to the number of the sons of Elohim. Nations were assigned to these beings. This is why every ancient culture has its gods. Spiritual entities were given dominion over territories. But here's the critical point. Genesis 1:27 uses singular verbs. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he him. The council witnessed. The council was addressed. But the Creator alone created. This is the distinction. Yahuah spoke to the council, but he alone performed the act of creation. This understanding doesn't weaken faith, it strengthens it. When someone asks, who is God talking to, you have an answer rooted in the Hebrew text and consistent across 66 books. The image bearers. What made Adam different? If spiritual beings existed before Adam, and they did, what made Adam special? Why does the bloodline matter so much? Why did the Nephilim corruption target humanity specifically? The answer lies in what created in the image actually means. 2 Hebrew words describe it. Tselem, image, derived from shadow, meaning outline, form, physical representation. Demuth, DMVT, likeness, derived from blood resemblance, meaning functional similarity pattern. Adam wasn't just alive. Animals were alive before him. They have nephesh, living soul, consciousness. Dragons, creatures of the sea, beasts of the field, all nephesh, all living beings. But Adam was given something more. He was created with the Tselem and Demuth, the image and likeness of the Creator himself. And he received the Ruach, the Spirit, the breath of Yahuah, the divine connection. And Yahuah Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Bereshith, Genesis 2:7. The Neshama, breath, of Yahuah produced the Nephesh, living soul, but it also installed the Ruach, spirit, the receiver, the antenna, the capacity for divine communion. This is what the pineal gland represents, as I'll explore in chapter 27. This is what the adversary targets for calcification and corruption. This is what the Nephilim bloodline dilution was designed to destroy. The question often asked, were there intelligent beings before Adam who lacked this divine connection? Scripture doesn't say explicitly, but it doesn't rule it out either. What it does say is that Adam was the first created in the image and likeness, the first with the direct line to the Creator, the first with the receiver installed. This distinction matters, because when the Watchers descended and corrupted human DNA, they weren't just creating monsters, they were attacking the image, diluting the likeness, corrupting the receiver, severing the connection between humanity and its Creator. Everything that follows, the flood, the scattering, the bloodline preservation through Noah, makes sense in this context. The adversary wasn't just causing chaos. He was executing a targeted strike against the one species that bore the Creator's image. That war continues today, the same strategy, different tactics. This is the pattern that runs through everything that follows. Once you see it, you'll recognize it everywhere. When this book refers to the system, understand what that means. Not bureaucracy, not incompetence, not random corruption, an ancient intelligence, a coordinated adversarial council that has operated continuously across millennia, working through human proxies, institutions, and bloodlines. It adapts. It plans across centuries. It remembers what humanity has been made to forget. Every substitution, every inversion, every erasure documented in these pages traces back to this single source, the Council of the Cast Out, still executing the rebellion that began before human history.